Hey, you better clean your plate or you're not getting dessert. Well, I guess you better not give in to your mom's threats if you're ever visiting China. That's just one of many places that have cultural faux pas and even some bizarre laws that totally go against what might be normal for you or me. For example, if you ever go to Italy, don't order a latte after breakfast. Go into any Starbucks in America at any time of the day, and you'll likely see plenty of people sipping on lattes, cappuccinos, and frappes. But in Italy, it's considered uncouth to order white coffee or any coffee made with milk after breakfast time. This is because traditionally in Italy, drinking milk after a meal is thought to be bad for digestion. So next time you're walking around Italy and jonesing for a latte, take a look at your watch. If it's after 11 a.m., you'd better stick with a shot of espresso, unless you want a dirty look from the barista. Don't tip in Japan. Even after a beautiful and exquisite meal with service fit for a king, leaving a tip can put a damper on the whole experience in the land of the rising sun. The opposite may be true in many other countries, and definitely in the US. But leaving your server or driver with a tip is considered quite rude and not even necessary. You see, great customer service is the normal standard, not something a waiter can just choose to do if they want a little extra money. You can't buy or sell chewing gum in Singapore. Sure, it's pretty annoying and gross stepping on a huge wad of someone else's gum. But in Singapore, they take it a lot more seriously than that. So seriously, in fact, that it's illegal to buy or sell chewing gum there. This ban started back in 1992 as a way to clean up Singapore's streets, movie theaters, schools, and parks. Of course, it doesn't apply to people who need nicotine gum or dental gum for health reasons. And it was partially lifted in 2004, with the exception of gum being bought and sold. So you're still allowed to chew it there today. You'll just be slammed with a hefty fine if you're caught buying or selling it. Cutting down a saguaro cactus is illegal in Arizona. The saguaro cactus is Arizona's official state flower. Just don't get too close and sniff it. Ouch! Oh, and don't cut one down either, unless you want to face up to a 25-year prison sentence. Yeah, even if it's in your own backyard. No, these cacti aren't filled with gold or anything. It's just that they take a whopping 150 to 200 years to fully mature. And cutting one down after all that is pretty awful. If you do have one on your property and you need to get rid of it for whatever reason, you have to get permission from the Arizona Department of Agriculture. Save your bikini just for the beach in Barcelona. Unless you're on or somewhere near the sandy beaches of Barcelona, wearing a bikini is a huge no-no in this colorful Catalonian city. If you're caught wearing a bikini top at a restaurant or shopping just after coming from the beach, you can get fined a couple $100 right there on the spot. The same goes for men who walk around with their shirts off. The dress code exists to enforce a bit of modesty around town. So, if you're ever in Barcelona and hanging out at the beach, you'd better stop by the hotel to change before you go out to dinner. Don't finish your plate of food in China. Gobbling up every last morsel on your plate isn't necessarily illegal in China, but it is considered somewhat rude. That's because even though you clearly enjoyed your meal, giving back a clean plate signifies that you're still hungry and not completely satisfied. Leaving just a bite or two left on the plate is your way of showing your dinner host that you enjoyed the meal and your belly is stuffed. When in France, try not to blow your nose out in public. If you're fighting a cold, allergies, or just some really bitter winter winds, sometimes blowing your nose in public just has to happen. But if you're in France, try to make it to the bathroom before you blow that honker of yours. Actually, it's not just France, but also places like China, Japan, and Turkey, where blowing your nose while around a bunch of people is considered quite rude and really just gross. They do kinda have a point there. When hailing a taxi in Australia, ride shotgun. In the US, hopping into the front seat of a cab would be downright weird. You typically climb into the back seat, even if you're the only passenger. But in places like Australia, parts of Ireland, and New Zealand, hopping into the back seat instead of the front passenger seat is pretty rude. Basically, you look like a snob who wants to be chauffeured in stark silence instead of making small talk with the driver up front. Only buy flowers in odd numbers in Russia. Giving someone a dozen roses or flowers in even numbers is considered a major faux pas in Russia. because even-numbered flower bouquets are usually present at funerals. So, if you're looking to win over the heart of a Russian, you'd better stick to bouquets with an odd number of flowers. And while you're at it, you're better off avoiding yellow flowers for the same reason. Don't get too creative with baby names in Denmark. Needless to say, all 3 of Kim Kardashian West's kids wouldn't fare well in Denmark. That's because in this country, it's actually a law not to name your baby anything too out of the ordinary, like North, Saint, and Chicago. This law is known as the Law on Personal Names, and it exists to protect babies who have no say in their potential outlandish names, and the burden they'll be forced to carry with them. I'm looking at you, pilot inspector. Yes, that's what celebs Jason Lee and Beth Riesgraf named their kid. Avoid using your left hand in India. Bad news, lefties. In India, using your left hand while exchanging money, handing over food, or shaking a person's hand is considered incredibly rude and, well, really gross. It's because the left hand is primarily used to, clean yourself up after using the bathroom. That's why people in India, as well as a lot of countries in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, expect you to use your right hand for everyday actions. If you do accidentally pass something to someone with your left hand, apologize immediately for doing something so discourteous. Don't feed the pigeons in Venice. Feeding pigeons some breadcrumbs may seem harmless, but doing this in Venice can set you back anywhere from $70 to $700 if you're caught. This Italian city enforces this law because it encourages pigeons to stick around Venice's popular area, St. Mark's Square, where they damage the city's historic monuments and prove to be a health hazard. Speaking of historic places, high heels are not for sightseeing in Greece. Greece is full of ancient ruins and incredible relics that attract tourists from all over the world. And having made it this far, Greece wants to ensure the preservation of these incredible monuments. One way to do that is by banning pointy, sharp heels, no matter how beautiful or stylish they may be. So while you want to look your best when visiting something as grand as the Acropolis, take it down a notch and slip on some Nikes. Ditch the camo when in the Caribbean. You definitely don't want to be caught wearing camouflage in several of the Caribbean islands. It's not because it's out of fashion these days or you risk not being seen. It's because their police officers wear camo. So if you're caught wearing this print, you could get charged with impersonating an officer, which can result in possible jail time and fines. Looks like the fashion police really do exist. Too bad you'll never see them coming. You know, because of the camo? Okay, and moving on. Don't step on money in Thailand. If you're ever walking down the streets of Thailand and see baht, the country's official currency, just lying there on the ground, you'd better not step on it unless you want to get arrested for breaking the law. Sure, stepping on money could tear it or make it unusable, but this Thai law exists for an even more important reason. On baht, you'll find the face of the country's reigning monarch. Stepping on these faces is a big no-no here and is considered demeaning to the royal family. Which law or faux pas surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments, as well as any other interesting cultural customs you can add to the list. Be sure to give this video a like, share it with your friends, and click subscribe to stay on the bright side of life.